This Lent, we're in God's stories. That's our theme. And all through the parish, we're breaking into small groups. You can still join one that are reading some of the great American short stories. Now, these are not manifestly religious stories, but the idea is if a story is told well with depth, you can find God in it. And we'll be looking for God in these stories. And then the sermon series, God Stories, I'm looking at 5 particular stories: the paralytic, the prodigal, the prophet, the priest, and the prostitute. Today, we're in the prodigal. So bottom line today, I will talk about money, God, and love. Because every story is essentially framed by money, God, and love. Every story, really. Money provides a basic frame to any human story. Money is ubiquitous in our lives. It insinuates its way. I don't mean that in a bad way. It just moves into every nook and cranny of our lives. So all the great stories are framed by money. Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens is set by the lack of money. F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby by the excess of money, or John Updike's The Rabbit series by the pure middle, the pure average amount of money. Every great story is about money, God, and love. God and love are the 2 great yearnings of the human heart to find meaning in life and to find each other, God and love. So here's one of the great stories. Let's look at money, God, and love. The frame is set by money here. So the story, it's a fairly privileged family, and the whole story is about money. He gives some of his money as an inheritance to the son. That son squanders the money. I mean, this guy, he obviously did really good retirement planning. I call this the Charles Schwab parable. Good retirement planning, chooses to give an inheritance. I mean, if you're able to give an inheritance, 35% of American families can leave some sort of inheritance. So you're up into that at least top 35%. He had an inheritance, but that guy went and squandered it, his son, and comes back. What's your relationship with money? It's an interesting question to ask, because we all have a style, or, money is one of the primary ways we express ourselves in the world. What's your relationship with money? Now, you might say, what do you mean, what's my relationship with money? I just wish money had more of a relationship with me. Because, we all want some more money, right? But some people, we have different styles, different ways we express ourselves with money. If you got $20 in your pocket, some people are really aware of that $20, how it's going to be spent, really tracking it. Other people, that $20 just sort of disappears without them even noticing. A lot of people ask me what denomination we are, and I tell them we're a $10 bill. That's not a funny joke, I guess. Everything's about money at some level, but I don't mean necessarily in a bad way. Not necessarily. Do you know in our Bible, 16 out of 38 parables by Jesus are about money or possessions? In our Bible, in the New Testament, literally 1 out of 10 verses is about money or possessions. And there's something about this story that's amazing. Did you notice? The son completely squanders his inheritance, comes back to the father. Did you notice this? The father does not money shame him. Did you notice that? We money shame people all the time. It's kind of what we do. We're judgy about how other people are handling their money. But in this story, 0 money shaming. I think it's wild. If my son wasted a bunch of money, man, I'd be wagging the finger. Oh, we money shame a lot. I see us do it all the time. When a young single mother on food stamps is in the grocery store and you notice she's carrying a really nice purse, and even in your mind you're kind of going, why'd she spend her money that way? But my friends, you have no idea what a single mother on food stamps is dealing with. And when you're standing there in judgment, you have no idea. And if a good purse makes her feel better about herself, it might be one of the best ways to spend some money. But we're so judgy about each other, and I see us do it all the time. When we see a poor person out there with the latest iPhone, you have no idea what it's like being on the street all the time. And if you have a chance to be a little more connected, a phone is what connects us. We money shame each other all the time. It didn't happen at all in this story. And that, my friends, is a grace. Money, God, and love. Any story is going to be about money, God, and love. And oh, boy, is this story about God. It's the parable in the New Testament about God. The parable about God. Clearly, in the framework of this story, the father, it could have been a mother just as well, but here it's a father, is the God figure. There really are only two images of the divine in the main testament, essentially. This is what I would say. Really just two. The first is, of course, Jesus himself. Colossians says that he is the image of the invisible God. So you have that image presented. The other is Luke 15. Because I don't know if you noticed, but God is not manifestly present much in the New Testament. So we just have these two images. Early in the Bible, God's like walking around in the garden talking to people, right? I mean, God is like right there. And then even in the prophets, God is talking to the prophets. And God is like manifestly present in Scripture. But you get to the New Testament, it all becomes more subtle. The divine voice rings forth twice, at the baptism and on the Mount of Transfiguration. But otherwise, God's not so present. Jesus doesn't even talk to God in the New Testament. He prays to God, but I mean, you don't have those conversations like you did in the Old Testament. Instead, we're given two images, Jesus and this story. This is the doctrine of God in the New Testament. This one, Luke 15. And what is the doctrine of God here? That our God is infinitely merciful. This is the key presentation of God. That our God isn't just forgiving, God is sloppy forgiving. I mean extravagantly forgiving. The word prodigal in English means extravagant or wasteful. But we say this story is about the prodigal son. It's really the prodigal God, whose forgiveness is just reckless and spilling out. This is the primary doctrine of God in the New Testament. But then religion, we won't believe this. And so we'll set up boundaries on God's forgiveness. We'll sort of define, where God will forgive. Man, God may just send you to hell or what, who knows. But we can't follow this story because infinite forgiveness, we just can't believe it. But he just runs out. God is just sloppy forgiving. Religion, it's always trying to define God. But we can't believe a story like this. Religion. So sometimes people come up to me and really intensely, they'll ask me, do you believe Christianity is the only true religion? And they'll have like some serious intensity about this. Do you believe Christianity is the only true religion? And they wait for my answer. And I say, well, the point is God is the only true God. Why are they making such a big deal about We don't worship Christianity. My friends, listen, we don't worship Christianity. We worship God. So what's their intensity about? We worship the one and only true God, yes. We don't worship religion. Religion at its best points you towards God. So we just, in religion, we define God to something less than this story. It's at our spiritual peril when we define God in a way that's less than our gospel. But we do it all the time. This God of infinite forgiveness. If you are holding something against somebody, if you are holding something against yourself, if you think you better work up your apology, just like the prodigal son did, that you better work up your apology and bring it before God, if you think this, God has already forgiven you long ago. Money, God, and love. Every story. Love is the essential striving of our lives, this yearning. It's in this story too. There's now a philosopher of love. He's risen in prominence in the last few years, writing 2 major works about love. His name is Simon May. He's professor of philosophy at King's College in London. And he notices that in Western civilization and scholarly thought, they use the word love all the time, but they never really describe what love is. Like, what really is the benefit someone receives when they're loved or love? He goes, it's never really defined. So what is the benefit for a human being when you love or are loved? What's the benefit, he says? Now, he's a philosopher, so this is what he says. You receive ontological rootedness. I'll explain what he means. Ontological rootedness. He says, the moment you love or are loved, you suddenly know who you really are. You know your identity. You are grounded ontologically. You are rooted in who you are. Ontological rootedness. You've come home to yourself at that moment. And then in love, he said, you're ontologically rooted, then you can imagine a shared future together. This is what is essential for us, to know who we are and know we have a shared future. That is what love brings. This son had lost himself. And somehow he found his way home. And he now knows who he is. And they have a shared future. And so, my friends, if in any way you've lost a sense of who you are, if in any way you're not really at home, we have a God who is always ready, infinitely ready to welcome you home. May it be so for you.